Cody Talks NFL, presented by Blitzalytics.com. And here's your host, Cody Manning.
And welcome into the Friday edition of Cody Talks NFL. Hope you guys had a great week. Last night's game got a little interesting, but ended up going how I thought it would, and I'll touch upon that after I get out of my news segment. I do want to apologize. I had something come up this morning, so this episode is going to be a little delayed today as far as when you're getting this. So I just want to go ahead and pre-apologize for that. As far as my news segments, guys, this stuff is pretty it's pretty quiet this week. Just like how it was on Monday. I'm just going to go ahead and update you guys on Jalen Ramsey. He still stands firm on that. He wants out of Jacksonville. Shad Khan kind of somewhat left the door open that there might be a trade happening soon. He was quoted yesterday. He said, "You got to balance what is good for the team with what the individual wishes might be." I think we might be able to. I think we will be able to kind of formulate here. I met him a couple days ago, had a heart-to-heart. I think we will be able to come to whatever makes sense of all. And then when he was asked about the recent report of not trading Ramsey for 5 first-round picks, he said, "Do you understand value?" ? He said with a smile, "Okay, then I think you already know the answer." So as far as where this is going, it seems like it's just a matter of time until they give in to Ramsey's trade demands, and he's going to be shipped to wherever his future team might be. I'm still on the boat that I think it will end up being the Raiders, but wouldn't be surprised if a team like the Eagles or the Seahawks pulled a trade for him, because he's a type of player that could push them over the edge for the Super Bowl. I think maybe what Khan's trying to do is the Jaguars still have a shot not only at the playoffs, but they still have a shot at the AFC South. So I'm thinking he probably met with Ramsey. He was like, "Hey, man, come on, give us a shot. We might have a team here. We might be able to win. But I'll tell you what, if you go out there and play, and we continue to lose, maybe he'll grant his wish." I'm not sure what was said. That's just pure speculation. He's been limited this week with his back injury, but the expectation is it sounds like Ramsey will be back playing for the Jaguars this Sunday. Next news topic, Zach Taylor came out yesterday. He said we're not trading A.J. Green. A.J. Green was actually asked about it. The trade deadline coming up here shortly, and he said he's ready for anything. I don't agree with this, man. I mean, obviously, if you've been a longtime listener of me, either on the Fantasy Football Hot Seat with Rob, or I've even talked about it on this show as well, I think the Bengals should just move on from A.J. Green. He's on the final year of his contract. They have no draft assets, so they might as well try to get some type of value out of him, because who knows? He might just have a change of heart by the end of the season and not want to re-sign for a new contract extension with the Bengals and move on to a better team in the offseason. But I like to see him go somewhere now, just so he's not back on the field risking potential injury for a very bad team. The only thing that makes sense if the Bengals wanted to hold on to him would be that they do plan on trying to draft like a Tua, Justin Herbert, a Jake Fromm, or Jordan Love, one of these quarterbacks in the upcoming class, Joe Burrow. And maybe they want to hold on to a weapon for their potential rookie quarterback. That will be on a rookie quarterback type deal. Maybe that's what they're thinking, but I think it's like he's 31 years old. He's always banged up. It's time for both parties to move on. And then the last thing, I did want to go ahead and update Vontaze Burfict's season-long suspension was upheld this week. So he's done for the Raiders, and honestly, his NFL career is probably done too, because you got to think about it. I mean, maybe a team signs him at a 1-year veteran minimum deal, but if you sign him, you also got to understand it's getting one hit and he's done for the season. So maybe he gets a backup opportunity somewhere, but it feels like Vontaze Burfict's NFL's career is done, and who knows? Maybe he goes to the XFL. I'm going to go ahead and kind of recap last night's game. I'm going to be very short on this because the game went how we all thought it would. Patriots did win 35-14. It got a little interesting, though. They got up 14-0, and then the Giants kind of had a little comeback. and tied it up 14-14 until the Patriots pulled away in the second half. It's kind of actually been the story of the Patriots games for most of their games this year. It's like they let these bad teams kind of hang in it in the first half, and then they kind of just run away with it. Daniel Jones had a really bad night, which is expected on a rookie quarterback on the road against the Patriots. They always struggle there. He threw 3 interceptions. Josh Gordon did leave with a knee injury. It looked pretty bad when on the tape when they showed it, but it sounds like they dodged a bullet. It doesn't sound like it's anything significant. Patriots are just, they're handle their business against bad teams, even though it might not be the prettiest, even though that line protection did struggle last night against the Giants. Giants were able to get to Brady a couple times throughout the night. But other than that, that game went how I thought it would go. Patriots are going to continue to roll. They're the best team in the league, regardless of how that line plays, regardless of the lack of weapons. But if there's anything to take out of these games, is when they do go against a pretty good team, they are definitely beatable in my mind. As far as the Giants, I mean, this is what to expect. It's a roster that still has a lot of holes on both sides of the ball. They still got to get things. They need to get Saquon back on the field, Evan Ingram and Sterling Shepard. Maybe that might have made a difference when the game was close yesterday, but it's going to be growing pains with Daniel Jones. But you still got a bright future to look forward to, even though he struggled, which is expected against the Patriots and a good defense last week. And the Vikings. As far as the bye teams this week, no news with the Bills or the Bears. It's pretty quiet on their front. With the Colts, Darius Leonard announced on his Instagram that he cleared concussion protocol. Now, let's keep in mind the team didn't announce it. That was him doing that on his Instagram, but I'm sure it'll correlate when they come out with the practice report next week. So that's a huge, obviously, boost for the Colts. They're coming off that big win against the Chiefs, and he's just another big boost in value, which is going to be needed in their big division matchup with the Texans coming off the bye week. And then with the Raiders earlier this week, I guess the Bills technically could be included in this, but the Raiders traded a 2021 fifth-round pick to the Bills for Zay Jones. Mainly because the Raiders need some wide receiver depth, especially with Tyrell Williams dealing with his foot injury. So that's just going to add. That's a depth piece add. If you guys are fantasy football players, please just listen to the Fantasy Football Hot Seat on the Blitzalytics podcast network. Me and my co-host Rob, we kind of talk about that as far as a fantasy impact on that. I'm gonna go ahead and move into the Sunday games. First game, guys, Carolina versus Tampa Bay. This game is in London. Now, this is a London game that's going to be with the early start time at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. I know some people don't like that. I actually don't. I actually love it. I love to be able to just kind of wake up, walk out to my couch, lay on the couch, and turn on a game and watch some football leading up to the noon games. So as far as this matchup, there's been no major news coming out for that team. And I just realized I made a crucial mistake, guys, and I did not list the injury reports. As far as I know, with the Buccaneers, they are pretty banged up right now. And I know that it was DeMar Dotson and Alex Kappa, their two starting linemen, did not travel with the team. They're out. Yeah, Alex Kappa's out with a forearm injury. DeMar Dotson's out with a hamstring injury. Jack Cicci's also out with an elbow injury. He didn't travel with the team. And then Brashard Perryman's out with a hamstring injury. I know he didn't travel with the team. And then their rookie, Zach Bailey's, he's been limited in practice with a foot and ankle injury. And then as far as the Panthers with their team, they actually went ahead and announced, because they're in London, so they're ahead of time. So Greg Little, their tackle, is going to be out with a concussion injury. Of course, Cam Newton's still out with his foot injury. It does look like Eric Reed's going to be questionable with an ankle injury. Shaq Thompson's questionable with the ankle injury. Dante Jackson's questionable with a groin injury. And, yeah, as far as notable players, that's who is on the injury report that just came out. And as far as how this game's going to go, it's really weird, right? Look at last week. London games are weird. The Raiders found a way to beat the Bears. Now, could that have happened back in America? Maybe. But part of it is London just tends to be a low scoring. There tends to be more mistakes made, the travel schedule. It's really a hard game to predict. If anybody remembers earlier, the Bucs have been the only team to actually hold Christian McCaffrey down. They held him to like 53 total yards. And keep in mind, 4 out of his 5 games this year, he's gotten over 179 scrimmage yards, Christian McCaffrey. So if they can repeat that success, and Shaquille Barrett can get that 3-sack performance again, that will give Tampa Bay a shot to win. Now, I'm really worried about the injuries to the Tampa Bay line. It's already not that good, and then they're going against a really great defensive front in the Panthers. But I think the Bucs can find a way to get after Kyle Allen. Kyle Allen hasn't been the prettiest quarterback since his debut against the Cardinals. Well, that's not technically his debut, but since his first game filling in for Cam against the Cardinals, he's kind of just been more of a game manager. So if they can force him into mistakes, then I think Tampa could find a way to win. I think this is also a must-win for Tampa because if they go 2-4 with how the NFC is right now, that just puts them in a big hole. I'm going to take Tampa in this game just because they've shown they are able to beat the Panthers, and I think they just find a way to win a weird, close game in London. I think it's going to be like a 21-17 type win for Tampa Bay. And then moving on to the first set of games, the first 1 o'clock noon games, 10 a.m., I guess if you're on West Coast. I'm going to start off in the Tank for Tua Bowl. Washington is traveling down to Miami and to face the Dolphins. As far as news, no news came out for either team. With the Redskins, Wes Martin hasn't practiced with his back injury. Jordan Reed's been, of course, still out with his concussion. Donald Penn's been limited with a hamstring injury. Vernon Davis has been limited with a concussion. Morgan Moses has been limited with the shoulder injury, and Brandon Scherf has been limited with the ankle injury. So their line and even backup linemen, they're all bangs up, and they're still missing Trent Williams. He has yet to report. With the Dolphins, Jesse Davis has been limited with the elbow. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and say all these guys I'm about to mention have been limited this week, but Jakeem Grant with a hamstring, Trent Harris with a foot injury, Xavier Howard with a knee injury, Rashad Jones with an ankle injury, Bobby McCain with a shoulder and a hamstring injury, and Albert Wilson with a calf and hip injury. As far as this game, guys, I really don't know how this game's going to go. Like, the Redskins just fired Jay Gruden. That team seems to be in turmoil. I know the new interim head coach, Callahan, he's been trying to make it old school. I guess he cut off the music to practice. He's going to try to feed AP the ball 20 million times. So who knows if that's going to work out with that line. But if there's a team that you can maybe make that work out against, it would be the Dolphins. I see a bunch of turnovers from both sides of the ball. I see some special teams type of play. It's going to be either a low-scoring affair because both teams are pretty bad, or it's going to be a high-scoring affair because both teams are pretty bad. I think Miami finds a way to win. I think coming off firing your head coach this early in the season is going to have an impact on this game, and I think Dolphins win by 3 somehow, whether it's a 6-3 win or if it's a 31-28 win. I think Dolphins win. It's at home. Redskins just fired Jay Gruden. I'm going to take the Dolphins in this one. And as far as the next game, the Eagles are traveling up to Minnesota to face the Vikings. No news on either team. With the Eagles, these following players didn't practice. Corey Clement with a shoulder injury. Ronald Darby with a hamstring injury. Deshaun Jackson with the abdomen injury. Tim Jernigan has yet to return with his foot injury. And then Darren Sproles has been out with a quadricep injury, and then Jason Peters has been limited this week with a knee injury. On the Vikings front, Ben Gideon has not practiced with his concussion. Josh Klein has been out this week with a foot injury. Adam Thielen didn't practice yesterday. He's sick. Sure, he'll be good to go. Mackenzie Alexander has been limited with the elbow and wrist injury, and Garrett Bradbury was limited yesterday with a shoulder injury. As far as this game is going to be a good one. Both teams got question marks surrounding it. The Eagles' offense really doesn't have an identity right now. Their defense, their pass defense is terrible. On the Vikings, they still got a really good defense, but they've been inconsistent. Really great one week, really bad the next week. Not really bad, but just subpar would be a better word for it. And then, of course, their offense with the passing attack, that's still got questions. Yeah, they bounced back last week, but that was the Giants. They're going to be going against a pretty good defense this week. They're a pretty good run defense. but the pass defense in the Eagles is pretty bad. So this game will be put on Kirk Cousins' shoulders to get them to a victory. It's not a primetime game, but it's still a big game for Kirk Cousins. This is the type of game that people are going to want to see him deliver. If the Vikings fans are going to want to trust him going forward, as far as the outcome of this game, I trust the Vikings more because it's at home. The Vikings defense is usually typically unreal at home. This is when they make their big plays. Harrison Smith usually will find a way to get his hand on the ball, whether it's forcing a fumble or an interception. I think the Vikings pull this one off. I think they're going to take advantage of the weak secondary of the Eagles. I think Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen are going to have have a big day in Minnesota, and then people are going to start jumping back on that train. I feel like this is going to be that type of game the Eagles drop to keep the Cowboys within closing distance of the NFC East. So because it's at home, I'm going to take Minnesota. But I could easily see the Eagles finding a way to win. It's going to be a close game. I think the Vikings win like a 27-24 type win. Next game, really good game too. We got actually a really great set of games this Sunday. Houston is traveling up to KC to face the Chiefs. No major news for either team. Kenny Still's been limited with his hamstring injury this week. As far as the Chiefs, they left that Colts game pretty banged up, so it looks like they will be missing some people this week. Chris Jones has not practiced with his groin injury. Sammy Watkins has yet to practice with his hamstring injury. Andrew Wiley has in practice with his ankle injury. Now, Tyreek Hill has been limited with a shoulder injury. There's no confirmation he's going to make his return since he got hurt in the first game, but let's keep in mind the Chiefs and Broncos are playing next Thursday night, so I'm not sure with them coming up on a short week if they're going to rush him back. They still got pretty good control of the end of the AFC West, so I could see them having him sit out at least one more game. And then Anthony Hitchens has been limited with the groin injury. As far as this game, guys, I think this is going to be an exciting game. I think this is definitely shootout, firework material between both offenses. Deshaun Watson playing out of his mind. Patrick Mahomes playing out of it. Well, had a couple rough weeks, but he's still having a great year, right? This is like the game to watch this week because, I mean, you could argue this could be the next Tom Brady and Peyton Manning type of rivalry in the AFC with how ascending these young quarterbacks are being. So I think this is a game where they're going to be giving blows. The offenses are giving blows to. That's just almost came out really fucking bad. The offenses are just going to be, giving jabs to each other left and right. I think they're going to be touchdown here, touchdown there, like big play here, big play there, right, by each offense. It's going to be a high-scoring affair. Because it's at home, I think the Chiefs find a way to win. I think they're going to win. It's going to be like a 38-35 type win for the Chiefs. But I can see the Texans pulling off. I want to be surprised if this game goes to overtime. And it's just the team that ends up winning is a team that wins the coin toss because their offense can go down and score that first touchdown. And then everybody will complain about the overtime rules. Why even if, you guys know the story. I'm not going to go into it. But, yeah, I think the Chiefs win in a high-scoring affair, and it's going to be a really great game. Moving on, New Orleans is traveling out to Jacksonville to face the Jaguars. No news on either team. With the Saints, of course, Drew Brees is still out with his thumb injury. Traquan Smith hasn't practiced with an ankle injury. Alvin Kamara popped up on the report yesterday. He was limited with an ankle injury. I already talked about Jalen Ramsey, but he's limited with a back injury. DJ Hayden's been limited with a foot injury. Ronnie Harrison was limited with an ankle injury. And I don't know if this was a joke or not, but Gardner Minshew's been limited with a groin injury. And as far as how this game's going to go, I think the Saints handle business. Yeah, they're on the road. But that defense is playing really great right now. It's one of the key reasons why they are winning. I think they're going to be able to get after Gardner Minshew, force him into mistakes, force him into turnovers. The offense is playing really good right now. Yeah, I think with Jalen Ramsey returning, that Jaguars defense has a chance to slow him down. But I think the Saints are going to find a way to win this one. Not handily. I think it will be close because it is on the road in Jacksonville. Jacksonville does have a pretty good defense. But I think Teddy Bridgewater will find a way to get the job done, put them in like field goal range. I think they're going to win like a 24-20 21-20, maybe even a last-minute field goal type win. But I think the Saints are going to win this. But it's going to be pretty close just because of the return with Jalen Ramsey does make that Jaguars defense much better. But I think I think the Saints defense will find a way to get after Gardner Minshew, make him look like a rookie, and the the Saints will end up finding a way to win. All right, guys. Had a little technical difficulty, so I'm going to hopefully repeat everything I just said about this game in the right way, which I thought I did a good job the first time, but no one will never know. Anyways, guys, next game up, Seattle Seahawks. They are traveling out to Cleveland to face the Browns. No news or injuries for either team. With the Seahawks, there are a couple injuries that really do worry me. Their two best offensive linemen are on the reports this week so far. Dwayne Brown has yet to practice because of a bicep injury. DJ Fluker hasn't practiced because of a hamstring injury. Chris Carson has been limited with a shoulder injury. On the Browns front, things are starting to clean up on their injury report. Denzel Ward and Greedy Williams, they have been limited this week with their hamstring injury. I haven't heard anything if there's going to be if they're set to return or not. I guess that's something we can monitor today on the final injury report that comes out this afternoon. As far as how I think this game's going to go, I think the Seahawks are going to win this game. I think it's going to be a close game. It will be a good game because they are on the road. The Seattle defense, I really like their defensive front with Jadeveon Clowney, Bobby Wagner, their front seven. I still have questions about their secondary, so I think this is a chance for Baker Mayfield and Odell and Jarvis to kind of have a good game, a bounce-back game after Monday's terrible performance. And also, I think the Seahawks, I just trust them more. Russell Wilson's playing at an MVP-type level. He's going to be the reason why they're going to win so many games this year with how he is playing. But I do have my worries about those injuries to Brown and Fluker. Now, if the report comes out they're going to play, I think Seattle wins pretty handily. I think not handily. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be like a 24-21 type win, maybe like 21-17. I think it'll be able to kind of a somewhat low-scoring game with some offensive explosion plays. But if for any reason, if Dwayne Brown and DJ Fluker, if the combination of those guys get ruled out, that gives a chance for Myles Garrett to really feast on Russell Wilson and really get after him, really stuff and bottle up the run game with Chris Carson. Now, those guys are missing. I do really like the Browns' chances to win this game, but because of how inconsistent Cleveland has been this season and because of how great and how consistent Russell Wilson has been playing this season, I'm going to go ahead and take the Seahawks. And then I'm going to go ahead and move into the next game, guys. The Bengals are traveling out to Baltimore to face the Ravens. As far as news, no news from either team. Like I mentioned earlier at the beginning of this episode, news has been pretty quiet the last couple of weeks, even though the guy I told you guys in the room bring up is trying to bring himself back into it. Anyways, as far as injuries, Bengals, Andre Smith has not practiced with the ankle injury. Sean Williams hasn't practiced with his thigh injury. Cordy Glenn's still out with his concussion. Kerry Wynn's out hasn't practiced with a concussion. AJ Green has returned to practice now. He has been limited. John Miller's limited with a groin injury, and Nick Vigil's been limited with an ankle injury. On the Ravens front, Marquise Brown hasn't practiced with an ankle injury. Jimmy Smith has yet to return from his knee injury. Patrick Nuasar hasn't practiced with his ankle injury, and Mark Andrews has been limited with his shoulder injury. I think the Baltimore handles this business. The Bengals are just a really bad team this year. They are going to struggle to get wins. It's on the road in Baltimore. This just seems like it's going to be a blowout, basically, to say the least. I mean, the Bengals' rush defense is so terrible. Mark Ingram, Lamar Jackson are going to run all over them. Justice Hill will probably get some action. They probably won't have to even throw the ball that much. I think Baltimore handles their business. I think it's going to be a blowout. I can't even give a score prediction. I could see it being like a 35-3 type of win for the Ravens. And I'm going to go ahead and move on to the afternoon games. The first afternoon game I'm going to talk about, I'm really looking forward to watching this. These guys usually have some pretty good and entertaining games based on their last few matchups over the years. But a big news front on the injuries for the 49ers. Mike McGlinchey had knee surgery this week, so he's out the next 4 to 6 weeks. So now the 49ers are going to be missing their two starting tackles, but the guy that has filled in with Joe Staley has done a pretty solid job. but obviously that's going to be a brutal blow to be without McGlinchey as well. So obviously McGlinchey hasn't practiced because of that. Joe Staley has yet to return to practice. Ahkello Witherspoon's yet to return to practice with his foot injury. Another pretty impactful injury, in my opinion, too, is Kyle Juszczyk. He got hurt, too, and I believe he's expected to miss some time, and he hasn't practiced this week with a knee injury. Dee Ford seems like he's going to be a weekly guy on the injury report. He's been limited this week with a quadricep injury. Now, the Rams, too, got a pretty big injury right now. Todd Gurley has not practiced this week with a quadricep injury, and based on what I'm hearing, does not sound good for Sunday. He might not be playing. Clay Matthews, of course, has not practiced with his jaw injury. Aqib Talib hasn't practiced with a rib injury. Natris Patrick hasn't practiced. He's been limited with a hamstring injury. Brandon Cooks has been limited with his concussion. Bryce Hager's been limited with a shoulder injury. And Taylor Rapp's been limited with an ankle injury. As far as how this game's going to go, it's pretty hard to predict. Because the 49ers are looking really good, but I really think the injuries of Mike McGlinchey and Kyle Juszczyk are really going to hurt their running game, which is their strongest point of their offense right now. Their defense is really good, and they're going to be able to get after Jared Goff. And obviously, if Todd Gurley misses this game, that's a pretty bad blow to the Rams' chances as well. Of course, the key to believe is going to be something to monitor for the Rams too. And this is a really Rams got their back against the wall, right? They started 3-0. They've dropped the last two games. There's 11 teams with a record over 500 in the NFC, and the 49ers right now are undefeated. The Seahawks just beat the Rams, and they're sitting there at, 3-4-1 right now? So the Rams really can't afford to lose this game. So I'm going to go ahead and take a desperation win in LA, even if Todd doesn't play. I think Malcolm Brown and maybe Darrell Henderson can kind of show his playmaking ability. I think they're going to be able to find a way even without Gurley. And I think those injuries to Mike McGlinchey and Kyle Juszczyk really do it to me as far as hurting the 49ers' chances. I do want to give credit, though. I've been doubting the 49ers every week. They are a good team. That defense is legit, especially with Nick Bosa. He's playing really great for a rookie right now. But I think the Rams are going to find a way to win and make things pretty interesting in the NFC West. Moving on to my next game, Atlanta's traveling out to Arizona. As far as news and injuries, with the Falcons, Matt Weil, who they just signed to be their punter, hasn't practiced with a quad injury. Desmond Trufant hasn't practiced with a toe injury. Alex Mack has been limited with an elbow injury. Julio Jones has been limited with his hip injury, and Ricardo Allen has been limited with his knee injury. As far as the Cardinals, David Johnson, he has yet to practice with his back injury. I know Steve Keim said there is a chance he'll play on Sunday. Obviously, if he doesn't, that really hurts the Cardinals' chances. Terrell Suggs hasn't practiced with a back injury. Hassan Reddick's been limited with a shoulder. Tremaine Brock has been limited with a shoulder. Demir Bird has been limited with a hamstring. Christian Kirk has been limited with an ankle injury. Andy Lee has been limited with a hip injury. Zach Allen has been limited with a neck injury, and Trevor Williams is limited with a hip injury. So the Cardinals are pretty banged up right now. As far as how I think this game's going to go, I'm not a betting man, but if there's a game to bet the over on, this is a game. It's going to be a point fest. The Cardinals are coming off a win. I think this is going to be a good game for Kyler Murray. I think this could be his big blow-up game, not only for Kyler Murray and the offense, but I think the offense's blow-up game might be limited if David Johnson's not out there for them on Sunday. I'm going to go ahead and take – this is hard because I can see this going either way, but I'm going to take Atlanta Falcons. They have dropped too many games. Another loss is just going to put them even more in a hole. I'm going to take Atlanta just because they have more veterans on their team, and I'm going to take the veteran quarterback over the rookie quarterback. But I could easily see the Cardinals winning. But I'm going to take Atlanta in this game. I think it's going to be a big shootout. Like I could see Atlanta or the Cardinals win this game like a 41-38. It's going to be a lot of points, guys. But it's going to be pretty entertainment from a fantasy football aspect. Now I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next game. Dallas Cowboys are going to face the Jets. As far as news and injuries, With the Cowboys, Randall Cobb hasn't practiced with a hip and back injury. La'el Collins has been out with a knee injury. Tyron Smith has yet to return to practice with an ankle injury. Leighton Vander Esch has been sick this week, so he has yet to practice. Amari Cooper is limited with an ankle and quad injury. Tyron Crawford's been limited with a hip injury, and Zach Martin's been limited with a back injury. With the Jets, Henry Anderson hasn't practiced with a shoulder injury. C.J. Mosley has yet to return to practice with his groin injury. Kalichi Assembly is all types of banged up. He's got a shoulder, knee, and he's been sick this week. He has yet to practice. Nate Harrison's been limited with a knee injury. Jordan Jenkins has been limited with a calf injury. Demarius Thomas has been limited with a hamstring and knee injury, and Quinnen Williams has been limited with his ankle injury. As far as this game, another thing to take note too is after my Monday episode, it did get announced that Sam Darnold's cleared to return, so the Jets offense will get a little boost. I do expect there to be more production than what we have seen over the last 4 weeks from the Jets offense, but I think this is kind of like a back against the wall. The Cowboys started 3-0, dropped the last 2 games. This is like a perfect bounce back, get right type of game for them. Jets still have so many holes across the board on both sides of the ball. They're still going to be missing C.J. Mosley. That defense is not that great right now. So I think this is going to be a game the Cowboys handle their business. This is going to be a type of game that I think Zeke's going to have a really good game. Dak's going to look good going against a poor pass defense. And I think it's going to be a good game. I think the Jets kind of hang into it. I think maybe Darnold's able to produce some points for them. But I still think by the end of the game, the Cowboys find a way to win by a touchdown or 7 or 10 points. I think Cowboys handle business on Sunday. And then moving on to the last game of the afternoon, the Titans are traveling out to Denver to face the Broncos. As far as news for the Titans, Cairo Santos, the kicker that missed 4 field goals for the Titans last week, he got cut. And they decided to go ahead and sign Cody Parkey. If you guys aren't familiar with that name, that is the kicker for the Bears that missed the field. Yep, double doink from last year. So he's going to get his second chance to be an NFL kicker with the Titans. As far as injuries, Cameron Wake has yet to return to practice with his hamstring injury for the Titans. On the Broncos front, Bryce Callahan has still been out of practice with his foot injury, and Jawan James has been limited with a knee injury. As far as this game, I'm not sure. I mean, it's going to be, I think, a bore fest, honestly. I think this is going to be a snoozer, low-scoring a game. If you base on the Titans, this should be like a game the Titans blow up, right? Because they're such an every-other-week team. But I'm going to take Denver because they are at home. They're coming off that win against the Chargers. Like I kind of bring up, their record doesn't really indicate how bad they are. I mean, how kind of a somewhat average team they are. They aren't as bad as their record says they are. They were in a couple games that could have swung their way if they would have closed things out in the fourth quarter in those 2 games. But so I'm going to take Denver to win. It's going to be like a 16-13 type win, 17-13. I really don't expect a lot of offensive production from either side of the ball. It's going to be the one game that you guys are probably going to rarely see on the red zone on Sunday. I think it's going to be a boring game, guys. I'm just going to be honest. That's why I sound bored talking about it. I really don't expect much out of this game, because I really don't expect much out of either team for the remainder of the season. So I'm going to take Denver in this one. It'll be a close defensive battle, though. I'm going to go ahead and move on to my Sunday night, not my Sunday night game, like I own the NFL, to the Sunday night game between Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh is traveling out to LA to face the Chargers. As far as news, I was really surprised that this little report I came across this morning, it didn't really hit the news wire until I saw it when I was putting together my script. But the Pittsburgh Steelers got into multiple fights in their Wednesday practice. Apparently, a couple players hit the offensive play. A couple defensive players hit the offensive players, like James Conner, I guess, a little too hard than the offensive players liked. So I guess a couple skirmishes happened on Wednesday. Maybe there's some turmoil. Maybe the teammates are kind of pointing fingers at each other for why the season has not gone the way Pittsburgh has liked. So that's pretty interesting, but we'll see if that has any effect on the game Sunday. As far as news and injuries. I'll start with the Steelers front with their injuries. They're pretty banged up, but these two guys are expected to miss like the following month. But Jalen Samuels, of course, not practicing with his knee injury. Same thing with James Washington's shoulder injury. Mark Barron has a practice with a hamstring injury. Roosevelt Nix has a practice with a knee injury. Vance McDonald hasn't practiced with a shoulder injury. And then Mason Rudolph, he's been limited with a concussion injury, but it sounds like he's not going to play after that brutal hit this past Sunday. I know Devlin Hodges has taken the majority of the first team snaps. Steven Nelson has been limited with a groin injury, and then Mike Hilton has been limited with a foot injury. With the Chargers, they got a brutal blow onto their offensive line this week. It came out earlier in the week after my Monday episode that Mike Pouncey is going to get neck surgery, so he's getting put on IR. He's hands down their best offensive lineman, so that's going to have a major impact on their run game, and of course, it's going to have a major impact on how much time Phil Rivers has to throw the ball. As far as their injuries, of course, their team IR. Nasir Adderley has yet to return with a hamstring injury. Michael Bagley, their kicker's been hurt still, hasn't practiced with a groin injury. Melvin Ingram has yet to return with a hamstring injury. Justin Jackson's been out with a calf injury. I don't think he's set to return this week, but there are good signs that Hunter Henry has been limited with his knee injury. So if you're a fantasy football player, tight end positions have been pretty weak. Maybe go check out the waivers, see if somebody dropped them, and see if you can maybe scoop them up for his return. And as far as how I think this game's going to go, even though the Chargers are so banged up and they're really an inconsistent team, you're going against a pretty banged up, bad team and the Steelers. I still kind of like how the Steelers defense has been playing. I like to give them credit, but I think the Chargers handle business. I don't really think this is going to be that great of a game. I think it's going to be a low-scoring bad game. Like, I think like the Chargers are going to win like 17-3. Like, it's going to be like, I think it's going to be a bad, low-scoring, boring game. I really don't have much excitement about this game. Maybe, who knows? Maybe old Duck surprises me and he lights up the Chargers and everything's right for the Pittsburgh Steelers all of a sudden. I don't really see that happening. Hopefully, maybe it's a more entertainment game. Maybe Melvin Gordon can get a bounce back, show that he's back to being an NFL player. But it's. I think Chargers handled their business. They win by 10+ points, in my opinion. And as far as the Monday night game, Detroit and Green Bay, no news for the Lions for them coming off their bye week. With the Packers, Devontae Adams came out and said his turf toe injury is a major injury, so he's probably going to be out a while. As far as how he probably won't be playing on Monday, if you guys are fantasy football owners of him. Other than that, please tune in to my Monday episode, and I'll be giving my game prediction on that. As far as that's the show, guys. And, of course, we got to do my producer question. Rob always has something for me. He goes, even though the Bengals say they aren't trading them, where would be your favorite and least favorite teams for A.J. Green to go to? All right, well, if A.J. Green's going to go to a team, have to be a team that's winning. So you can already say this. If the team has no chance at the playoffs, that's some of my least favorite teams. I do have some teams I'm going to list. But what would be my favorite? I'd love to see him go to the Bills. That would be awesome. Obviously, I'm going to go ahead and say I'd love to see him in a Colts uniform. That's something I've been pounding the table since the offseason started last year in January. I was hoping the Colts would make a trade for him. I also could see him going to a place like the Raiders, too. That would make sense. And, hey, that's a winning team, too, technically. Yeah, those are probably the three teams I could think of. Least favorite teams, obviously, Patriots, Bengals. If you trade them to the Patriots, I'm going to break something. I will freak out. I guess I wouldn't hate this, but I guess the Packers is like a middle team. Like, it would make sense if you go to the Packers, but it wouldn't be like I don't want to necessarily hate it, but I wouldn't necessarily like it. But yeah, those are some teams I guess we could say in consideration, but never believe coach speak. People lie all the time. I mean, look at OBJ. David Gettleman said he would never trade him. Why would we sign him to that contract and then trade him? they fucking traded him. So, so even though the Bengals said that, I think there is a chance it could possibly happen. They can maybe come to their senses, but who knows with that organization and the way Mike Brown runs things over there in Cincinnati. And then other than that, guys, I want to, once again, like always, thank you for tuning in. If you've been watching every episode or listening to every episode on the Blitzalytics Podcast Network, thank you so much for the support. And if you guys are a fan, and you guys like watching my ugly face talk about the football, talking about the NFL every week, but maybe you're traveling on the weekend or you're driving to work or whatever the case may be, you just don't got time to pull it up on YouTube. Please subscribe to Blitzalytics Podcast Network. We're basically on every major podcast platform, and my episodes do come up later than the YouTube, but they are eventually going to be put on there for you on Mondays and Fridays. We got some great shows too on the podcast network, guys. Blitz Breakdown, the staple show. Pick Six is always entertaining. Stay tuned for next week. I got myself in a bet that I lost, so I'm going to be going on the Pick Six. I'm not sure what we're going to be ranking, but either way, I'm sure it's going to be exciting. But hopefully it's not the serial killers that Rob brought up last episode, because I can't humanly do that, let alone name one. And then also the Fantasy Football Hot Seat, guys. That's my fantasy football podcast with Rob. It comes out every Wednesday. We do studs and duds from the previous week, starts and sits for the upcoming week. We talk waiver wire targets, trade targets, streamable defenses. It's a pretty set show every week, but hey, Rob and I, we hit sometimes, and then when we do miss, we at least own up to it when we do our studs and duds section. And then most importantly, guys, please go check out the All Heart Charity League presented by Blitzalytics. It's 10 different teams for 10 different charities for great causes, guys. I mean, and we got all types of representatives across the league, but just pulling it up really. And the site is go.rallyup.com/allheart/campaign. But I mean, you guys, we're talking about for juvenile diabetes. The Best Friends Animal Society, Los Angeles Mission to help the homeless in LA. Zach Moore is doing the Fight for the Forgotten for Justin Wren. That's pretty big. If you guys are fans of Justin Wren, he's an MMA fighter. That's his charity, and he's help raising for them. We got the American Cancer Society, the Bears Care for that, American Humane Society, American Diabetes Association, and the NFL Player Care Foundation as well, and St. Jude Children's Hospital. So there's tons of great causes. I really don't care who you want to give money to. Just go donate. I'm going to have to donate $10 to David Connors of Blitzalytics, his charity, because we got in a bet over. That's why I'm going to be on the Pick Six next week. So tons of great causes. Other than that, guys, once again, if you have been a long-time listener of me, thank you for your support. Thank you for you guys that reach out. If you do want to reach out to me, text me, slide into DMs. My Twitter handle is @Cody Talks NFL. Other than that, have a great day. Have a great weekend. Enjoy football this Sunday. Blitz out.
Thank you for watching Cody Talks NFL, presented by Blitzalytics.com. As always, hit that like and subscribe button, and then hit that bell notification icon to stay up to date on all things football.